Welcome to Growth Mindset Success, where your journey to personal excellence begins. Here, we unlock powerful ideas and timeless wisdom from the world's most influential books on success, mindset, and motivation. In a fast-paced world, you need guidance that inspires and equips you to act, improve, and rise. That's what we deliver. No fluff, just value. Whether you're an entrepreneur, dreamer, or seeker of clarity and purpose, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, and get ready to grow. If you find value, don't forget to subscribe for weekly book summaries that unlock your full potential. Let's dive in. Also, let us ask other friends of our boyhood days who have fared no better than ourselves to join us, that they too may share in his wisdom. Thou wert ever thus thoughtful of thy friends, Vancer. Therefore hast thou many friends. It shall be as thou sayest. We go this day, and take them with us. The richest man in Babylon. In old Babylon there once lived a certain very rich man named Arcad. Far and wide he was famed for his great wealth. Also was he famed for his liberality. He was generous in his charities. He was generous with his family. He was liberal in his own expenses. But nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, "You, Arcad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the richest man in all Babylon while we struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garments, and you can enjoy the rarest foods while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiment that is presentable and feed them as best we can. Yet once we were equal. We studied under the same master. We played in the same games. And in neither the studies nor the games did you outshine us. And in the years since, you have been no more an honorable citizen than we. Nor have you worked harder or more faithfully, insofar as we can judge. Why then should a fickle fate single you out to enjoy all the good things of life and ignore us who are equally deserving?" Thereupon Arcad remonstrated with them, saying, "If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youths, it is because you either have failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth or else you do not observe them. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to anyone. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every man upon whom she showers unearned gold. She makes wanton spenders who soon dissipate all they receive and are left beset by." This ends my tale of the 5 laws of gold. In telling it to thee, I have told the secrets of my own success. Yet they are not secrets but truths which every man must first learn and then follow who wishes to step out of the multitude that, like yon wild dogs, must worry each day for food to eat. Tomorrow we enter Babylon. Look, see the fire that burns eternal above the temple of Bel. We are already in sight of the golden city. Tomorrow each of thee shall have gold, the gold thou hast so well earned by thy faithful services. 10 years from this night, what can you tell about this gold? If there be men among you who, like Nomasir, will use a portion of their gold to start for themselves an estate, and be thenceforth wisely guided by the wisdom of Arcad. 10 years from now, 'tis a safe wager, like the son of Arcad, they will be rich and respected among men. Our wise acts accompany us through life to please us and to help us. Just as surely our unwise acts follow us to plague and to torment us. Alas, they cannot be forgotten. In the front rank of the torments that do follow us are the memories of the things we should have done, of the opportunities which came to us, and we took not. Rich are the treasures of Babylon. So rich no man can count their value in pieces of gold. Each year, they grow richer and more valuable. Like the treasures of every land, they are a rich reward awaiting those men of purpose who determine to secure their just share. In the strength of thine own desires is a magic power. Guide this power with thy knowledge of the 5 laws of gold, and thou shalt share the treasures of Babylon. The gold lender of Babylon. 50 pieces of gold. Never before had Rodan, the spearmaker of old Babylon, carried so much gold in his leather wallet. Happily down the king's highway from the palace of his most liberal majesty he strode. Cheerfully the gold clinked as the wallet at his belt swayed with each step, the sweetest music he had ever heard. 50 pieces of gold, all his. He could hardly realize his good fortune. What power in those clinking discs! They could purchase anything he wanted: a grand house, land, cattle, camels, horses, chariots, whatever he might desire. What use should he make of it? This evening, as he turned into a side street toward the home of his sister, he could think of nothing he would rather possess than those same glittering, heavy pieces of gold, his to keep. It was one evening, some days later, when a troubled Roden entered the shop of Mathan, the lender of gold and dealer in jewels and fine fabrics. Glancing neither to the right nor the left at the colorful articles on display, he went straight through to the living quarters at the rear. There he found the courteous Mathan reclining on a rug, partaking of a meal served by his attendant. "I would seek thy counsel, for I know not what to do," Roden said, standing firm, feet apart, his leather jacket loosely open at the front. Mathan's narrow face broke into a friendly smile. "What missteps hast thou taken that thou shouldst come to the lender of gold? Hast thou been unlucky at the gaming table, or perhaps entangled in some affair? For many years have I known thee, yet never hast thou come to me for help with thy difficulties." No, not such as that. I seek no gold. Instead, I crave thy wise advice," Roden replied. "Hear this. What strange words I hear. No man comes to the lender of gold for advice. Surely my ears deceive me." "They do not," said Roden. "Can this be so?" Roden, the spearmaker, shows greater wisdom than most, for he comes to Mathan not for gold, but for counsel. Many men come seeking gold to cover their mistakes, but for advice they seldom ask. Yet who is better able to advise than the lender of gold, to whom many men come in their times of need? "Thou shalt dine with me, Roden. Be my guest for the evening. And he called to his attendant, "Bring a rug for my friend Roden, the spearmaker, who comes seeking counsel. He shall be an honored guest. Set before him good food and pour for him from my finest cup. Choose the best wine, that he may drink with satisfaction." "Now tell me what troubles thee," Mathan said. "It is the king's gift," Roden answered. "The king's gift. The king gave thee a gift, and it brings thee trouble." "What kind of gift?" "Because he was greatly pleased with the design I submitted for a new spear point for the royal guard, he presented me with 50 pieces of gold. And now I am much troubled. Each hour of the day I am pressed by those who would have me share it with them. That is natural. More men desire gold than have it, and they hope one who receives it easily will divide it. But can you not say no? Is thy will not as strong as thy hand? To many I can say no, yet sometimes it would be easier to say yes. Can a man refuse his own sister, to whom he is deeply devoted? Surely thy sister would not wish to deprive thee of the joy of thy reward. But it is for the sake of Araman, her husband, whom she wishes to see become a successful merchant. She feels that he has never had a fair chance, and she pleads with me to loan him this gold, believing he will prosper and repay me from his earnings." "My friend," replied Mathan, "this is indeed a worthy matter for discussion. Gold brings to its possessor both responsibility and a new place among his fellow men. It brings concern, lest it be lost or taken. It gives a sense of power and the ability to do good, yet at the same time, it creates situations where one's good intentions may lead to difficulty. Hast thou heard of the farmer of Nineveh, who could understand the language of animals? It is not a tale often told at the bronze caster's forge, yet I will tell it to thee. For it shows that in borrowing and lending, there is more than the simple passing of gold from one hand to another. This farmer, who could understand the words of animals, would linger in the farmyard each evening to listen. One night he heard the ox complaining to the donkey about the hardship of his lot. "I labor pulling the plow from morning until night. No matter how hot the day, how weary my legs, or how the yoke rubs my neck, still must I toil. but you live in comfort, wearing a decorated blanket, and do little more than carry our master wherever he wishes to go. When he goes nowhere, you rest and eat the green grass all the day. Now the donkey, though sometimes stubborn, was a kindly fellow and sympathized with the ox. My good friend, he replied, you do work very hard, and I would help ease your lot. Therefore, I will tell you how you may have a day of rest. In the morning, when the attendant comes to fetch you to the plow, lie upon the ground and groan loudly so that he may say you are sick and cannot work. So the ox took the advice of the donkey, and the next morning the attendant returned to the farmer and told him the ox was sick and could not pull the plow. Then said the farmer, hitch the donkey to the plow, for the work must go on. All that day the donkey, who had only intended to help his friend, found himself forced to do the ox's task. When night came and he was released from the plow, his heart was heavy, his legs weary, and his neck sore from the harness. The farmer lingered in the yard to listen. The ox spoke first. You are my good friend. Because of your wise advice, I have enjoyed a day of rest. And I, answered the donkey, am like many another who, meaning to help a friend, ends up doing his work for him. Hereafter you must draw your own plow. For I heard the master tell the attendant that if you were sick again, he would sell you to another. Truly, you are lazy. From that time on, they spoke to each other no more, and their friendship ended. Canst thou tell the moral of this tale, Rodan? 'Tis a good tale, responded Rodan, but I see not the moral. I thought not that you would, but it is there, and simple too. Just this: if you desire to help a friend, do so in a way that will not bring your friend's burdens upon yourself. I had not thought of that. It is a wise moral. I wish not to take upon myself the burdens of my sister's husband. But tell me, you lend to many. Do not the borrowers repay? Mathan smiled, the smile of one whose soul is rich with much experience. Could a loan be well made if the borrower cannot repay? Must not the lender be wise and judge carefully whether his gold can serve a useful purpose for the borrower and return to him once more, or whether it will be wasted by one unable to use it wisely, leaving the borrower in debt and the lender without his treasure? I will show thee the tokens in my token chest, and let them tell their stories. Into the room he brought a chest as long as his arm, covered with red leather and ornamented with bronze designs. He placed it upon the floor and knelt before it, both hands upon the lid. From each person to whom I lend, I require a token for my chest, to remain there until the loan is repaid. When they repay, I return it. But if they never repay, it remains to remind me of one who was not faithful to my confidence. The safest loans, my token box tells me, are to those whose possessions are worth more than the amount they desire. They own lands, jewels, or animals, or other goods which could be sold to repay the loan. Some of the tokens given to me are jewels of greater value than the loan. Others are promises that if the loan be not repaid as agreed, they will deliver certain property as settlement. On loans like those, I am assured that my gold will return with its rental, for the loan is based on property. In another class are those who have the capacity to earn. They are such as you, who labor or serve and are paid. They have income, and if they are honest and meet with no misfortune, I know they can repay the gold I lend them along with the fair return to which I am entitled. Such loans are based on human effort. Others are those who have neither property nor steady earnings. Life is not easy, and there will always be some who cannot adapt to it. For loans made to such as these, even though small, my token chest may remind me in later years that I was unwise, unless they be guaranteed by good friends who know the borrower to be dependable. Mathan released the clasp and opened the lid. Rodan leaned forward eagerly. At the top of the chest, a bronze neck piece lay upon a scarlet cloth. Mathan lifted the piece and touched it thoughtfully. This shall always remain in my token chest, because the owner has departed from this life. I keep it as his token, and I keep his memory, for he was my good friend. We traded together with much success until, from the east, he brought a woman to be his wife. beautiful, though unlike our women. She loved splendor, and he spent his gold freely to satisfy her wishes. When his gold was gone, he came to me in difficulty. I gave him counsel, promising to help him once more find control over his affairs. He pledged he would, but sadly it was not to be. Their union ended in great sorrow. "And she?" questioned Roden. "Yes, this cloth was hers," Mathan said quietly, lifting the scarlet fabric. "In her grief, she too was lost to the river. These two loans will never be repaid." The chest teaches, Roden, that when people are swept up in powerful emotions, they are not safe risks for the lender of gold. Here, now this is different. He reached for a ring carved of ox bone. "This belongs to a farmer. I purchased the rugs woven by his family. Once, when locusts destroyed the crops and they had no food, I helped him. When the next harvest came, he repaid me. Later he came again and told of unusual goats he had heard about from a traveler in a distant land. Their long, soft hair could be woven into rugs finer than any ever seen in Babylon. He wished to obtain a herd, but he had no gold. So I lent him the means to make the journey and bring back the goats. Now his herd is growing, and next year I shall surprise the lords of Babylon with the most splendid rugs they have ever bought. Soon I must return his ring, for he insists on repaying promptly." "Some borrowers do that," queried Roden. "If they borrow for purposes that bring them greater earnings, I find it so. But if they borrow for unwise reasons, I warn thee to be cautious if thou wouldst ever see thy gold returned." "Tell me about this," requested Roden, picking up a heavy gold bracelet inset with jewels in rare designs. "The women do appeal to my good friend," bantered Mathan. "I am still younger than you," retorted Roden with a smile. "I grant that," said Mathan, "but this time thou dost imagine romance where there is none. The owner of this is a talkative woman, older and past her prime, who often wearies me with many words and little meaning. Once her family had much wealth and were fine customers, but hard times came upon them. She has a son whom she greatly desires to see become a merchant. So she came to me and borrowed gold that he might join as a partner with a caravan owner who travels with his camels, trading in one city what he buys in another. This man proved untrustworthy, for he left the poor boy in a distant city without money and without friends, departing early while the youth slept. Perhaps when this youth has grown to manhood, he will repay. Until then I receive no return for the loan, only many words. Yet I do admit the jewels are worthy of the pledge." "Did this lady ask thy advice as to the wisdom of the loan?" "Quite the opposite. She had pictured in her mind her son as a wealthy and powerful man of Babylon. To suggest otherwise offended her deeply. She reproved me strongly. I knew the risk for this inexperienced boy, but as she offered sound security, I could not refuse her. This," continued Mathan, holding up a bit of pack rope tied into a knot, "belongs to Nibatter, the camel trader. When he would buy a herd larger than his funds allow, he brings to me this knot, and I lend to him according to his need. He is a wise trader. I trust his judgment and can lend to him freely. Many other merchants of Babylon have my confidence because of their honorable dealings. Their tokens come and go frequently in my chest. Good merchants are a strength to our city, and it profits me to aid them in keeping trade alive, so that Babylon prospers." Mathan picked out a beetle carved in turquoise and set it aside with little regard. "A trinket from Egypt. The young man who owns this shows little concern whether I ever receive back my gold. When I speak with him, he replies, 'How can I repay when fortune goes against me? You have much more. What can I do?' The token was first his father's, a worthy man of modest means who pledged his land and herd to support his son's ventures. At first the young man succeeded, but then, eager to grow too quickly, his limited knowledge caused his enterprises to fail. Youth is ambitious. Youth often seeks shortcuts to wealth and the desirable things it represents. To secure wealth quickly, youth often borrows without wisdom. Lacking experience, They may not realize that unwise borrowing is like stepping into a deep hole, easy to enter, but very difficult to climb out of. It can bring worries and regrets, where bright days seem dimmed and nights bring uneasy rest. Yet, I do not advise against borrowing altogether. I encourage it, if it be for a wise and purposeful reason. I myself made my first true success as a merchant with borrowed gold. But what should the lender do in such a case? When the borrower loses hope and accomplishes little, when effort to repay is absent, compassion pulls strongly against taking from the father the land and cattle that were pledged. "You tell me much that interests me," said Rodin, "but I hear no answer to my question. Should I lend my 50 pieces of gold to my sister's husband? They mean much to me. Thy sister is a noble woman, whom I greatly respect. Should her husband come to me and ask to borrow 50 pieces of gold, I would first ask, for what purpose would you use it? If he answered that he desired to become a merchant like myself and deal in jewels and rich furnishings, I would then say, what knowledge have you of trade? Do you know where to buy at the best cost?" Conclusion. In The Richest Man in Babylon, George S. Clason shows that the principles of wealth are timeless. Through memorable stories, he teaches that anyone can achieve financial independence by practicing discipline, consistency, and wisdom with money. The key messages: save at least 1/10 of your income, control spending, invest carefully, and keep learning, remain just as relevant today as in ancient Babylon. The ultimate lesson is that wealth is not luck, but the result of sound principles practiced faithfully over time.